Kelowna's townhome market is starting to show signs of a real shift. Sales have slowed, listings are still near record highs, and last month prices hit a new low. On the surface, it might look like a normal fall cool down as we head into the winter months, but the October numbers tell a different story, one that gives buyers more leverage and puts sellers in a tougher spot. So let's break down what's actually happening here in the Kelowna townhome market so you can plan your next move with clarity. So let's start with the 10-year sales numbers. So this is strictly for the month of October from 2015 to 2025. Now this year we had 55 sales in the month of October, only down 5% from 2024 or 3 sales. So not a lot of movement in sales there over the last year. Slightly higher than 2023. But if you remember 2023, we had those fires that started in August, and then sales never really recovered until 2024. And we are right around the 10-year average right now. The 10-year average for sales is at 63, which is clearly skewed because of, well, at least 2020 had 128 sales there in 2020 for October, and that's something we had never seen before. So if you flatten this number out a bit, we're probably at or doing a little bit better than the 10-year average. Now let's quickly compare the 2024 and 2025 sales. Typically, we do peak out in May for sales for all property types, and that's no different in townhomes for 2024 and 2025. 2024 was a little bit busier, but overall, so far, 2025 is busier, only by about 4.4%, or 24 more townhomes have sold in 2025 than they did in 2024. So that gives you an overview of what's happened year over year. I suspect it will still stay strong here for sales as we lead into November and December. I don't know if we'll see it dip below 40, but we'll see what happens next month, or this month of November, and then December is usually pretty slow. Now, if we zoom in a bit to just 2025, just to see kind of where we're at here. As I mentioned, we did peak out in May, 75 sales there, and it's just been on a slow decline since then. We had quite the drop from July to August in townhome sales. Then we've had a little bit of a recovery since then. And the list to sale ratio in terms of price is around 97%. So buyers and sellers are negotiating roughly 3% off of the last list price. And I'll touch on pricing here in a moment. I just want to talk about the listings quickly. So this is the 10-year October listings graph. So as you can see, we're still near record highs for listings at 430. Well above the 10-year average, even with this huge dip here. 10-year average is around 300 listings, and we're well above that right now. Listings year over year are only up about 2% compared to 2024. So not a huge change there, but a massive change since 2023, 2022, and most of the years before that. And specifically for 2025, this is what the listings graph is looking like right now. We peaked out in May, even for listings. As I mentioned, sales, we peaked out there at 441, and it's been pretty smooth since then. So we are still seeing quite a few listings hit the market, even as we head into the end of the year. The months of inventory right now are sitting at just under 8 months of inventory. So if at the end of October, no other properties got listed, in theory, it would take about 8 months to sell off that inventory, which does put us into a buyer's market, but not too far into a buyer's market like, say, the condo market. Townhouses are a little more balanced than the rest of the market. So we're sitting, again, just under 8 months there, close to a balanced market. The absorption rate is sitting at 12%, or 12 out of every 100 townhomes that are listed right now are actually selling in a given month. Now, the average days to sell a townhome right now are sitting at 62. It's way high there in January, which is normal. Townhomes sit on the market longer if you have them listed, typically during the winter months, depending on what you have it priced at and all that, of course, and depending on the sales we had in January as well. And then we saw a huge drop, just back to normal once February hit, and then it's been bouncing around 50 or 60 days to sell. But keep in mind that the days on market can be a little bit misleading, as some townhomes, they'll get canceled and relisted if the seller decides to do a price drop, and depending on if the agent recommends them do a relist the townhome as well. So what this does is it resets the days on market, which hides the true days to sell. It doesn't include the cumulative days to sell. Once the townhome sells and then gets recorded by our board, it just includes that last listing. So with that being said, the true days to sell, I didn't run the numbers this month, but is probably closer to 70, 75 days to sell. So not too much longer, but a little bit longer if you just keep that in mind if you are selling right now. Now, the topic everyone likes to discuss is the prices. So these are the benchmark prices for the townhome market here in the Kelowna area. And right now, we have not seen prices hit this much of a low since between July and August of 2021. So take that green line back, see where we're sitting there towards the peak of the market. $697,000 at the end of October, where it's down 5% month over month. Now, that being said, you can see the spikes and drops here for the townhome market. Mainly because there's not a lot of sales month over month. So like there's only 55 this month. There'll probably be less next month. It all depends on what actual townhomes are selling. So that'll vary greatly. The price can vary greatly. So just keep that in mind. And as you can see, I believe this was last July, this huge spike here, same as the dip here. So we could see it rebound in November, depending on what actually sold in November. Now, if you bought a townhome 5 years ago, the benchmark price then was around $567,000. And from October 2020 to March of 2022, which was when we peaked out for townhomes, is $837,000. During just that period, we saw a 45% increase in price, or around $260,000. And then from that time, from March to today, we're down about almost 17%, or $140,000 in price. And the low and high sales for the month of October was $375,000 on the low side and $1.5 million on the high side. Now keep in mind, this is just the benchmark price. This is the price of every townhome here in Kelowna. It's going to vary greatly depending on the area. If you're out in, say, Rutland compared to the Upper Mission, prices are going to vary greatly. And it also depends on the actual townhome complex as well. It could be in the same neighborhood. One could be higher than the other. So what does this actually mean for you? Kelowna's market has clearly cooled, especially since 2020 and 2021. And the balance has tipped towards buyers. Homes are taking longer to sell. Inventory is still near record highs, as you can see by those numbers there. And only the well-priced and presented listings are the ones that are getting attention right now. So if you are selling, your strategy matters more than ever. How your home shows, and more importantly, how well it's priced, specifically in this market, that will decide whether you stand out or your property sits on the market. And if you're buying, this is one of the better windows we've seen in a long time. More choice, more negotiating room, and less competition. Understanding these shifts gives you a real advantage no matter what side of the market you're on. So if you're looking to buy or sell in 2026, send me a text message to the number on the screen and we can discuss your goals for your next move. And this next video explains the current overall Kelowna real estate market in detail.